Hi everybody, I'm Tim from troutandfeather.com, and yes, I am a fly fisher. I'm very lucky, so is my wife. And we have 2 children, so yes, you know what that means. We are a fly fishing family. That involves so many things, but as I'm standing next to a spring creek right now, it means we love to fish and we also love to wade in the water. How does that fit in with our children? I mean, you know where this is going. You gotta find a pair of waders for your kiddos. I'm gonna talk about my experience in looking for what I deem to be the perfect pair of waders for my children. Did I find them? You're gonna find out really soon. But also stick around at the end because I'm gonna share some of the tips that I've learned over the years to making it just a great experience when you're out on the water with kids. Stay tuned. After our first child, my son, was born, we knew that he was going to be on the water with us no matter what. I can't remember back to exactly how young he was on the water with us, but it was pretty darn young. And I did a ton of research and found one of these packs that he was able to basically fish with me, and he was on my back while we were fishing. It was so much fun. Now, it was a little bit stressful trying to find what I deemed the perfect pack. I'll do a little bit of homework for you. Shoot me an email, it's on the screen right now, and I can tell you about some of the top packs that exist today. But now let's kind of get to the point where he started to get older. He turned 2, then 3, and though my wife and I love to fly fish with him on our backs, it just became a tad much. So we realized it was time for him to kind of start to do his own thing, on the ground. Once he was out of that pack, we had basically a tall, bright green pair of shoes. I think they were Croc brand or something along those lines, and they worked well, except my son, Angelo, is very spirited. Looks like he's driven by a motor. He is always on the go, and he loves to jump in the mud. Those boots were only like this tall. You can just imagine what his pants looked like by, 30 minutes into a day fly fishing. They were just covered in mud. So knowing we're fishing moving waters, rivers, streams, spring creeks, yeah, those boots, they could work for a few things, but hey, I wanted a pair of waders for my son, plus he wanted a pair to be just like his mom and his dad. So I did what probably all of you have done. I started to do Google reviews, look on Amazon, and just try to find what I would deem, a great pair of waders for my kiddo. So I read some reviews online and I pulled the trigger and I bought a pair. And man, to say I was disappointed is an understatement. There were so many pairs of waders that had these glowing reviews, yet when we got them, they either felt like garbage, they weren't waterproof, they didn't keep him warm. I remember one pair in particular that he literally wore them twice, and he kept complaining about how cold it was. Well, it was early spring, so I thought maybe we just need to put, thicker sweatpants or some type of sock on him that just will keep him a little warmer. It had nothing to do with his clothing. Those waders, the second time we were out, just wore seeping water on the inside. I immediately emailed the company. I'll say this, they had great customer service. Within 1 week, I had another pair of waders. He put them on, and literally within the first 10 minutes of wearing those waders, they just completely came apart right along the seam. So I basically had in my head that waders for children ages, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, they just didn't exist in any type of quality format. So I returned back online and I found this other pair of waders, and they were neoprene, which told me right off the bat, they're going to be a little bit warmer than some of the breathable pairs I had been buying him prior. The brand was called Cammisa. Reviews seemed pretty good. So I said, hey, let's see what happens. I'm gonna buy a pair and go from there. And to say I found like the golden pair is just so true. This has been the pair of waders that I have used for my son and now my daughter for the last 4 or 5 years now. My son is gonna be turning 7 in just a couple months. Does that mean these are the perfect pair of waders for children? In my mind, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, yes, they have been. So my son wore the first pair for approximately 2 fishing seasons. He beat them up. This is the kiddo that loves to run around the mud. This is the kiddo that likes to slide on his knees, go into the water, come out of the water, pick up rocks, throw rocks. That's my son. To say spirited, that's the perfect word for him. And yes, he absolutely beat up those waders. Did they eventually leak? Yeah, absolutely. There's no such thing as perfect waders, but they didn't leak along an edge. They didn't leak where some of the fibers were glued or sewn together. Instead, they leaked at his knees. You're probably looking at the pair of them right now. It looks like I literally cut out his knee pads with a pair of scissors. That's how big the holes became, just because he's very rough on these waders. They lasted for 2 seasons. I was ecstatic they lasted that long. By the way, whenever I say he's spirited, I don't know where that comes from. I think there's a saying, is it that the apple doesn't fall far? All right, so then we had a daughter. As she's gotten a little bit older, yes, she wants to follow in our footsteps as well, and she wanted her own pair of waders. We got very lucky because, you know, as you heard, my son's pair, they were destroyed. They were no longer in use for my daughter. However, I see I had a pair of camouflage waders with the little pink on it. Yes, pink happens to be her favorite color. So now she's rocking the little pink trim. My son has the chartreuse trim. They both have camo waders, and most importantly, besides how they look, they keep my kiddos warm and they keep my kiddos waterproof. Those are the 2 absolute keys when it comes to buying a pair of waders for your children. I'm a featured presenter for the Fly Fishing Show, traveling around the country giving presentations on European nymphing, fly tying, and also tips on fly fishing with children. I have talked to many parents, grandparents, uncles, and they all really have that one guiding question, and it's, what's the best pair of waders for my kiddo? And I can assure you there are other brands out there, and maybe they work. But from my personal experience, I can tell you that this Hysia brand has definitely stood the test of time with both of my children. I reached out to them and they were very generous to offer all of my viewers a coupon code. It's 15% off if you use the code TIM15 when you go to order. There's a link down below. You know, you can order the waders that way. Use that coupon code, get that 15% off, and I guarantee you will be just as happy as I have been over the last, I don't know how many years using these waders for my son and my daughter. Now on to some tips when you're fishing with your children, especially by moving water. Ensure you have a proper fit. Follow the sizing online prior to buying the waders for your kiddos. And then once you do, get them all geared up next to the water. Push all the air up and out of the top of the waders, then put that belt around their waist. What will happen if you leave all that air in there and your child falls in? That air will cause their legs to kind of ride up, float them, and possibly kind of get their head underwater. You do not want that happening to your kiddo. Get all that air out of the way, make sure those straps come around, make sure they're tight, make sure that belt is tight around their waist, then you're good to go. Keep them up. What do I mean by that? Anytime I'm fishing by moving water, I always keep my child upstream from me. That allows me to take a peek up there, see what kind of trouble they're getting into. You know they're throwing rocks in and scaring all my fish away. But most importantly, worst case scenario, they fall in. If they fall in upstream from me and that water carries them downstream, I'm going to see them coming. I'm going to be able to grab them and pull them out of the water. That has never happened in all of my time fishing with my children, because not only do I require them to be upstream from me, I don't let them go in that deep or that far away from the bank. Keep that in mind. Make it safe for your children. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you are liking this one, pause right now and click that like button telling me you want to see more videos just like this one. Now, let's get back to some more information. Everybody gets the munchies, especially kiddos. Bring snacks when you're fishing with your kids. You can bring something healthy like an apple, a banana, some yogurt, have some type of a liquid like water or Gatorade. Throw in some lollipops, throw in whatever makes them happy. I mean, my kiddos love to bring goldfish, those little crackers, and they love to feed them to the fish. I mean, whatever makes it fun for those kiddos, bring that food along. You will be thankful you have it in there, both for them and for you. So are you eating a Hershey's Kiss while you have a steelhead on? Less is more. Now, what do I mean by that? Pre-kiddos, I believed that I had to be the first one in the water, the last one to leave. I mean, I would fish into the night because that's just what fishing was to me. But once I had my son, I realized it's not about me anymore. It's about having a positive experience with my kiddo when I'm fishing. So that meant shorter outings. I didn't stay out all day. Maybe it was just a 2-hour session, a 3-hour session, maybe even just a 30-minute session. But I wanted to make it a positive experience for my kiddo on the water, which meant a positive experience for me too. The most important thing to do whenever you're bringing your kiddos on the water is to have fun. I mean, let them have fun. I love to pick up rocks with my kiddos, look on the bottoms of them, find some insects, and then take the rocks and throw them in the water because that's what kids like to do. Sometimes we just pick up sticks and pretend they're fishing rods. Sometimes I hand them my fishing rod, let them fish with mine. Other times, whenever I have a fish on, they will reel the fish in. I mean, one time, my son, he kept reeling. I thought that trout was gonna go through all of my guides. He was reeling it in so fast. My daughter right now, just like my son, she loves to net the fish, and she also loves to gently release them back into the water once it's time to put them back in. Let them just embrace those experiences with you, but have fun with your kiddos. If there's something that they want to do while you're out fishing, just take a time out from fishing and go do it. You will make not only just a positive experience for your child, for yourself, but you'll make it a more memorable one. And that's what this is all about. Just building that love of the outdoors into that kiddo. All right, you got some of my best tips for taking a kiddo fishing. I talked about my favorite pair of waders for kids, but what about my days when my son was a little bit earlier? What kind of tips do I have for you there? Good news, I already made a video about it. It's right here. So let's keep that learning going. Let's continue the fun. Click that video, watch it now, and you can thank me later.